The story begins in the silence of the high atmosphere, where the sky fades from deep blue into the blackness of space. Somewhere up there, long before anyone on the ground realized what was happening, a U.S. Air Force aircraft released something that, even today, sounds like science fiction. No explosion, no warning, just an object falling, fast, silent, and unstoppable. For decades, we've associated air power with bombs, missiles, and precision-guided weapons. But this was something different. This wasn't about explosives. It wasn't about firepower in the traditional sense. It was about pure kinetic force, raw physics turned into a weapon. Imagine a metal rod, not just any rod, but one made from an ultra-dense material, possibly tungsten. It's about 20 feet long, a few inches thick, and weighs several tons. No explosives, no fuel, just solid metal. Now imagine that rod being dropped from the edge of space, accelerating as gravity pulls it down toward Earth. By the time it reaches its target, it's moving at hypersonic speed, several times faster than the speed of sound. The energy it carries isn't chemical, it's kinetic. When it hits, it doesn't explode like a traditional bomb. Instead, it releases energy comparable to a small tactical weapon, creating massive destruction through impact alone. This concept is often referred to as rods from God. It sounds like something out of a movie, but the idea has been studied seriously by military planners. And while details remain classified or unclear, there have been whispers, reports, and theories suggesting that tests or versions of such weapons may have been explored by the U.S. Air Force. What makes this idea so unsettling is its simplicity. There's no need for explosives, which means no risk of detonation failure. There's no signature like a missile launch that can easily be tracked. And because it falls from such a high altitude, it's incredibly difficult to intercept. Think about that for a second. A weapon that arrives at hypersonic speed, with almost no warning, and delivers devastating impact without a single gram of explosive material. It challenges everything we thought we knew about modern warfare. Now, you might be wondering, has something like this actually been used? That's where things get murky. Officially, there's no confirmed deployment of such a weapon in combat. But the U.S. military has a long history of experimenting with advanced and unconventional systems, many of which remain classified for years or even decades. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union explored ideas that seemed impossible at the time. Orbital weapons, space-based platforms, and kinetic bombardment systems were all part of theoretical and experimental programs. The goal was simple: gain an advantage by thinking beyond traditional weapons. And this concept fits perfectly into that mindset. It's not about bigger explosions, it's about smarter physics. From a technical standpoint, the challenges are significant. You need a platform capable of carrying and releasing these rods, potentially from orbit or near space altitudes. You need guidance systems that can ensure accuracy over thousands of miles. And you need materials that can survive the intense heat generated during re-entry. But none of these challenges are impossible. In fact, with modern advancements in aerospace technology, materials science, and guidance systems, they're more achievable than ever before. This is where things start to feel a bit unsettling. Because if something like this exists, or even if it's close to existing, it changes the balance of power in a major way. Traditional missile defense systems are designed to detect and intercept threats like ballistic missiles. But a kinetic rod falling from space, that's a completely different problem. It's faster, harder to detect, and doesn't follow the same predictable trajectory as a missile. And then there's the psychological impact. The idea that something could strike from above, with no warning and no visible launch, is enough to change how nations think about defense and security. But let's take a step back for a moment. Even if the technology exists, there are serious questions about its practicality and ethics. For one, deploying such a system would likely be extremely expensive. Launching heavy payloads into space isn't cheap, and maintaining a platform capable of delivering these rods would require significant resources. Then there's the issue of international law. Space is supposed to be used for peaceful purposes, and while there are gray areas, placing weapons in orbit could violate treaties and escalate tensions between nations. And finally, there's the question of necessity. In a world where precision-guided munitions already exist, do we really need a weapon like this? Or is it simply an example of how far technology can go when pushed to its limits? Despite these concerns, the concept continues to capture the imagination. It represents a shift in how we think about warfare, not just in terms of power, but in terms of possibility. Because at its core, this idea isn't just about a weapon. It's about using the laws of physics in a way that feels almost unreal. Turning gravity itself into a delivery system. Transforming a simple object into something capable of immense destruction. And that's what makes it so fascinating, and so unsettling. There have been moments in history when new technologies completely changed the battlefield. The introduction of gunpowder, the development of nuclear weapons, the rise of cyber warfare. Each of these innovations forced the world to adapt, to rethink strategies, and to confront new realities. A kinetic weapon like this could be another one of those moments. Whether it's already been tested, quietly developed, or remains purely theoretical, one thing is clear: the boundaries of what's possible in modern warfare are constantly expanding. And sometimes, those boundaries are pushed in ways that feel like they shouldn't exist. So the next time you look up at the sky, remember this: above that calm blue horizon, beyond the clouds and the atmosphere, there's a realm where technology and imagination collide. A place where ideas that once seemed impossible are being explored, tested, and maybe even deployed. And somewhere up there, at least in theory, is the potential for a weapon that doesn't explode, doesn't burn, and doesn't make a sound until it's too late. Just a silent object, falling from the edge of space, carrying the full force of physics with it. That's the kind of power that doesn't just change warfare. It redefines it.